all of a sudden, I found myself in a world that I'm so unused to. I've always been working in the physical office environment, and I always do my work outside the office. Therefore, when I was made to work from home, mandatory, that was not my usual cup of tea, right? The lockdown stretched longer than expected, and it was practically spending 8 to 10 hours a day in sitting postures, facing and speaking into a laptop. My health began to take a toll, and my eye pressure started to build. Eventually, I had to seek medical attention for my eyes and other complications. And that's a very brief story of my experience working from home. I'm sure the audience out there would have similar experiences, or some other experiences. Probably you like to share your personal experiences in the chat box by answering just the following questions. Number 1, was your health affected? Please answer yes or no. And number 2, did you feel any mental challenges? And that too, answer yes or no. So I'll give you a couple of minutes. Question number 1, was your health affected? Please answer yes or no. And number 2, did you feel any mental challenges? Please answer yes or no, right? Okay, then let's move on to more contemporary issues. When business crises occur, whether it's pandemic related or otherwise, the companies that emerge stronger are those able to flex their business and people to overcome the new challenges they face. The unpredictability and scale of COVID-19 pandemic has forced the world to adapt to a new way of working, in some cases practically overnight. Now more than ever, it is necessary to reimagine work and how it is done. Many companies are currently considering the setup of work after the pandemic ends, not only in terms of the strategy for return to offices, but also in terms of setting up the future of work. Which aspects of work from home should be kept in the future, and which activities would be better performed in the office? What are the preferences of our employees? Do they want to go back? If so, to what extent? How did employee productivity change during work from home? Did they have all the necessary tools and information? Flexible working is not a new phenomenon, but a trend towards increased flexibility, and remote working has historically largely been driven by employees who were caregivers. The sudden arrival of the pandemic prompted even the most reluctant employers to consider new agile working options. Against this background that I just shared, we framed the context for today's discussions on the topic of hybrid working, a new challenge and opportunity for HR post-pandemic. It is very important for us to understand that every company and every team needs to tailor hybrid work to their specific needs and company culture and to their current situation and rhythm of work. Right. Before I bring on the speakers for today's session, here are just a couple of few house rules for those who are on the Zoom platform. Please turn off your video and mute your mic. And you can also put your questions in the chat box. It's time to now bring the wonderful women who have made their mark in the HR profession. I like to introduce now Fiona Fong. She is a client-focused and relationship-oriented HR professional with over 20 years of broad task-based HR experiences with exposure as a generalist as well as in a shared services environment. She possesses people manager skills and demonstrated ability to work within teams as well as foster successful business partnerships with a strategic mindset. Currently working as Senior Director of Talent Management APAC at DHL Express, engaging with a full spectrum of talent management activities ranging from performance management, talent identification, succession planning, training facilitation, leadership development, transformation and change management. Let us give a warm welcome to Fiona. And the next speaker that I'm bringing on is none other than Wulan Rani. She's an experienced practitioner of human resources from Indonesia. During her work there for more than 21 years of career experiences, she handles all HR functions such as she has got strengths in talent acquisition, talent development, organization transformation, employer branding, and employee engagement in retail and advertising and tech industry. Currently, she is the Human Capital Strategy Director of MIFX, while during her free time, she spends her time and focuses as core committee member and Indonesia country lead at Asia HRM and Asia HR Women Club communities. Let's give a warm welcome to Wulan. Hi there, Fiona and Wulan. You can turn on your mics. I can't hear you, guys.
Hi.
Hello,
Hi.
hello everyone.
Yes. So how's the weather in Singapore and in Indonesia?
Weather is good.
Here it's about windy, and I think it's gonna be rain also soon.
Yeah, over here in Kuala Lumpur too, we expect the same. The weather it has been awful yesterday. Hopefully it will be better. So let's move on. Fiona, in 1 minute, can you summarize a little bit,
Sure.
what you do at DHL?
Sure. Thanks, Bob, for the introduction. And hello, everyone. It is my pleasure to be spending the next hour with you. As Bob mentioned, right, I count myself very blessed to be able to experience the different roles within HR across different industries. So from PeopleSoft, a software company, to Bank of America Merrill Lynch in the banking industry, and now at DHL, a logistics company. They each have different cultures and work model. In fact, hybrid work actually happens in the software industry very early in the early days, right? And at the bank, culture was a bit more formal, but I did experience flexible work arrangement when I needed it, which was still very uncommon at that time. And 10 years ago, I joined DHL, a company with a great culture where people is at the center of everything we do. During the pandemic, we as an organization evolved with the changes, and we also, incorporated remote work as well as hybrid work to allow flexibility to our people. So I hope that today's discussion will trigger meaningful conversations and actions leading to purposeful outcome for you. Thank you.
Nice, nicely said that, definitely we hope to have this meaningful conversations with some purposeful outcomes. Nicely said, right? So over to you, Wulan.
Yeah, hi, hello everyone. Happy to be here. And this is the second meeting with Fiona, for sure. Yeah, so
you guys have been on the same platform before this?
Yes. It's actually like last month, isn't it, Fiona?
Yeah, it was for the Break the Bias women event.
Break the Bias, okay.
Yeah, this is about on the Women's Day. So yeah, as Bob also already introduced me a bit, that I've been working as an HR. I love HR since the beginning of my career. So I've been taking care a lot of recruitment. So you can imagine how many people that I've been talked to. So it's since early on my career, I've been very engaged with recruitment, and then I learned more about the HR generalist function, and now something that I really try to learn more from time to time is about the employee experience. That's something new, right? Now the trend is changing. The naming that previously we only talking about recruitment. Now we are talking about talent acquisition. So I try to improve myself to understand that better. And during the pandemic, I have the experience on dealing with two different companies. First is the actually it's similar. It's both is the working in the startup industry. The first one is more to the customers needed, but at that time we still try to focus on working from the office, which is quite challenging during the pandemic. But now in my second office, now I really experienced the full working from anywhere thing. So it's kind of new also because a lot of things that I need to adjust and understand and also planning. That's why we have this discussion today. Let's share, let's talk about our experience and how we can enrich each other knowledge and, you know, having like a better opportunities to understand what we should prepare for our next year. Thanks, Bob.
Well said, Wulan. And you know, this kind of platforms are so important for us to converge and then share knowledge, right? It's for us to share the best practices and also insights as to what is happening in across the whole Asia, right? So yeah, so we all know exactly what has happened over the last 2 years, right? And there are a lot of data out there that or surveys that have been done by very renowned organizations like Gartner, Deloitte, and the likes that point to the direction that the pandemic has actually transformed the way of working, transformed, in fact, where we go down a little bit deeper, transform workplace cultures. And we see that happening. I see that happening in Malaysia. A lot of companies have adapted a model of working from home or a hybrid model. But for the audience, at least to give them an understanding as to the different approaches in working, right? There are 3 different modes now that we can see of working as a consequence of the pandemic. You know, basically, some of those practices were already there in the past, but you know, on a large scale, we see that, you know, working from home is one mode, right? Working from office is another mode, and working from anywhere is a third mode. So as panelists, okay, as experienced HR practitioners and leaders in your own fields, I will ask you all to first expand a little bit on the definitions of what is working from home, working from office, and work from anywhere. So I'd like to first pose this question to you, Wulan. In your own words, what do you understand by these 3 modes?
Okay. On my perception, this is the way I see it. So yes. I will came from the point of view of human interaction. Working from office meaning that you will have a direct interaction with another people, another employee, your team, your colleague. While working from home is you are in the interaction with them, but most of the time you will do like this, sitting in front of the camera, talking to our laptops or our gadget or whatever tools that we use. And working from anywhere, meaning that you have the ability to go to any part of the world that you want to go, like next to the beach, in the middle of the coffee shop,
Starbucks,
any top coffee shop in your town, or any luxurious hotels that become very cheap during the pandemic, you know, the situation, right? And you still have the main things that you need to do, deliver your responsibility and your job. That's the way I see it, Bob.
So all 3, basically, you need to deliver on your responsibilities, like whether working from home, working from anywhere, or working from office, right?
Yeah. Yes, correct.
The flexibility is there you're supposed to do work, because in normal conditions or situation, it will be a 9 to 5 job.
Yeah.
9 to 5 job. But what has changed after the pandemic has come in is that flexible hours. Do you agree with me? Are these practices quite common in Indonesia?
Yes, I think it's quite common. You know, when you go to all the social media platforms, most of the time they took like a good sunset or sunrise pictures, but at the same time,
Bali, I see some in Bali.
Bali is one of the famous like a beach right now, right? And then next to it, you will see that they bring their laptop with them. So I think we can say that it's more to you know, the time limit is no longer there. But I think something that we really need to be focused on is also, do they still really enjoy their time next to the beach while they still have to deliver their work? Because most of the time that what we see on all the surveys that we are doing right now, people tend to work long hours because, you know, they can do it at the same time, right? They can have the meeting, they can still talk to their friend, they can enjoy their lunch. But sometimes they forget the limit between, hey, you need to enjoy your lunch, you need to enjoy your quality time with your friends, and you need to deliver your work. Sometimes we need to still seeing that as a separate things, right? I think that's something that becomes an issue lately during the pandemic. Correct me if I'm wrong, Fiona. I don't know about the people in Singapore.
Let's take this conversation to Fiona.
Yeah.
Fiona, you know, would you like to say a few words? Share a bit about what Bulan has just shared. Would you like?
I do agree with Rennie that there are certain, you know, determinants that needs to be determined, right? In terms of guiding that boundaries. So I think the definitions that Rennie has shared earlier is very similar. For me is, you know, work from home or work from anywhere is termed as teleworking, which is also commonly known as remote working. So as long as it allows an employee to carry out their work or duties, responsibilities from an off-site location outside of the official workplace, it could be working from home, like what Rennie said, or even at Starbucks, like what Bob, you mentioned. You know, so it doesn't matter where, but I think as an organization, we need to think also about the conduciveness of the physical environment to make them productive. Anyway, back to what hybrid means is basically an environment where it allows in-office as well as remote employees to come together as a mixture of a work model. Yeah, and this work model has become very popular, especially in the pandemic times, because it offers that flexibility and support to the workforce.
Well said. Okay. Now, we see that countries are now moving into endemicity, right? So when it moves into endemicity, the expectations are that employees are to return to office. Okay. So is that an expectation of which will happen in Singapore or in Indonesia? You know, do you expect organizations to now send out, you know, instructions to employees, return to work on April 1st, back to office, right? Do you see that happening? Fiona, over to you.
Yeah, I can take that. So many findings actually shows that the vast majority of the organizations plan to permanently shift to a more remote work after COVID-19 recovery. In fact, just 2 days ago, our Singapore Prime Minister has just made a national address about the relaxation of the COVID-19 measures. And one of them is to allow 75% of employees who can work from home to return to their workplace. So we are
you're saying that there is a policy from the government, not a policy or a guidance.
So there's a guidance to say now you can, as employers, allow those people to come back, you know, about 75% of the employees who used to work from home to return to the office.
Okay.
Okay, and in fact, early in the year, MOH, our Ministry of Health, announced that work from home is no longer the default, right? And that time in January, it was allowing 50% of the employees to return to office. So I do foresee that organizations would start to recall back, the employees to return to work as we enter into endemicity. However, I also believe that there are, in the last 2 years, organizations and office employees have learned new ways of working. So responding and adapting to the pandemic. So therefore, a hybrid work will be here to stay, as many companies do realize the benefits that stems out of remote working, such as increased productivity, less commuting time, or even carbon footprint.
I want to pause you there because
Sure.
Because the next question will go into productivity. So before we go into productivity, I'm going to pause you there. Hold your thoughts. Wulan, what about Indonesia? What do you see?
So yeah, actually, just like
just before you go on, Wulan.
Yeah.
How is the connectivity issues in Indonesia?
Well, if you compare us with Singapore,
we cannot compare with Singapore, right? Because
of course,
Indonesia is so vast, right? It's such a vast.
Yeah. We have, so if you're talking about the big cities on the Java Island, on the Jawa Island, the connection is great. Yeah, Java Island, the connection is quite okay. Java, Bali now is quite okay. Also Sumatra is quite okay. But the rest might be not as, they don't have the privilege like us here at the central of the Indonesia for sure. But I think that's not also a problem right now, because we are also like giving the opportunity to the employee to work from anywhere, right? So they now, some of my employee like come back to their hometown and then they still able to deliver. So for me, then they still can manage about the connection. Though it is still an issue, of course, for some part of the cities in Indonesia, but the rest supposed to be still covered. But the government also already sent a notice to us that now they allow us to send back our team to the office with a quantity of 75% of the capacity. Since like 3 weeks ago, the traffic is back. You know Jakarta, how traffic is Jakarta. It's quite different with Singapore. And when we are talking about the traffic, meaning that, well, it's stopped, right? And I think something that now became a highlight, some of the companies starting thinking like, oh, why don't we keep the situation similar? So same like what some companies also apply worldwide. Some of the companies still choose to let the team pick whether they want to come to the office or they want to do the work from home. So that still become an option, because when we are talking about the point of view of the organization, hey, I can reduce the cost of the rental of the office space because we don't need that big space anymore. People can work anywhere, and instead of that, we can give it as a allowance to the team, like, hey, you can buy chair, you can buy proper desk for you to work at your house, right? And then you can even like give them a modem so they can work anywhere they want. They can carry it over. So that's something that actually about like, a bit changing on the way we decide how we want to continue for the working model for now.
Interesting. Indonesia is that vast amount of talents, and it's now becoming known for attracting startups. So startup culture and entrenched, a very organized kind of company or organizations are different. The cultures are different, right? One is very entrenched, and the other one is startup is very laid back. So how is the startup environment, right? And is that, I'm very sure that startups don't require their employees to come to office. Is that happening?
Yeah, most of the startup might be, but there is also some startup that, because they are still on the very early stage of their company setup and then their business setup, they still need to do a lot of conversation and then, focus group discussion. They need to meet in person. That's why some startups still like asking the team to come to the office. But mostly the one that already settled for like 2 or 3 years, they already like have the system how they want to have their communication and role every day. That's why they can choose to have it online and they can send everyone at home. That I think like it depends on how the organization see their needs, right? So it doesn't matter whether it is startup or it is like a corporate that's already established, because in my current company back then we don't have any thought that it will be happens to us. People love to use desktop. I do also buy additional screen because it's big, clear, right, for us who stay in front of the laptop daily. And that's how the employee choose. But when the pandemic hit, then all of a sudden we have to switch, we have to change, we have to think like buying laptops for everyone, how helping them to do the working from home. So it's quite difficult for us to adjust at that time. But now I think after 3 years, we can say in my company and at MIFX now we decided that, hey, you can work from anywhere you want. You can come to the office if you want, but feel free to if you want to work from home, as long as you know that what you have to do. You know your KPI, you know your goals. That's what we will ask you to deliver.
End of the day, right? Okay. Yeah. So now I'm going back to Fiona now. Fiona, sorry I had to pause you just now, Fiona.
Sorry.
Yeah. So, speaking about employee performance, right? It has always been a top priority for organizations. However, due to the spread of this COVID-19 pandemic, has employee performance taken a backseat? Because we are thinking more of the safety, right, of employees. So has it actually taken a backseat? And how do you actually manage the changes caused by the pandemic? Because the primary focus for organizations now and leaders worldwide is to ensure that that the employees put in the kind of work that translate into results, right? Because everybody is talking about building back better. They want to regain lost ground, or they want to regain their competitive advantage, right? So give us your understanding of at least a very simple explanation on performance management, and in your opinion, did working from home or remote working have any impact on employee productivity and performance? Right, over to you.
All right, thanks, Bob. Okay, so for performance management, it is a management tool where it aims to strategically align the employee's work to the organizational goals, carry out in a very effective and efficient manner against a set of performance standards. And these performance standards, like your competency framework, is critical to be reviewed and updated to ensure that these behaviors will bring success into the future. So it's critical that we get this right so that performance management process has great links into workforce management, succession planning, compensation, even employees' development. So therefore, having a good performance management process would rely very heavily on the ongoing communication between the manager and the employees that occurs throughout the year, supporting the goals that they are wanting to accomplish. So this communication process would include things like clarifying expectations, setting goals, identifying these goals, providing feedback, even reviewing the results and milestones that has been achieved. So in short, I think that's what performance management means and how it's being delivered. And your second question in terms of the opinion of remote working, does it have any impact on employees' productivity and performance? Definitely, I think yes. And there are many factors that impacts productivity and performance of employee. To name a few, work environment, connectivity with the manager, connectivity with your colleagues, and also employee engagement. So let me just dive a little bit into some of these factors that I've mentioned. So work environment with remote work, employees are actually driven into isolation, right? When you have to work independently. So to be successful, they have to be set up to be successful, to feel competent at work. So questions to ask is that, is the setup right at home? Connectivity, yeah, equipment, table, even ergonomic chairs, do you have it? Because you'll be sitting there so long. Printers, scanners, these are very basic. Do you have the right tools, right, to collaborate? Yeah, like Teams, yeah, or Zoom, or even mural boards where you are no longer sitting in a meeting room, yeah? And are they savvy enough to use the tools that is provided by the organization? Is the environment conducive? Is it too noisy? Do they have an exclusive privacy to do that? Or even getting the support of the family, because Bob, I think you mentioned earlier on, they're all playing different multiple roles as parents, as children in a home setting, but performing a work deliverable goals. Yeah, so that's something to think about. Yeah. Connectivity with managers is another key one that would impact performance. Is it compromised with remote work? Yeah, is it managed well? Does employees feel supported? Or is it out of sight, out of mind?
Out of mind. Okay.
And now, right, we are observing all these behavioral traits like your competency framework. It's going to be even tougher because it's not so visible, limited by time and space because you're not there. Yeah, you basically have to be in front of the computer, or it demonstrates your behavioral skills through other manner that can be visible, picked up by people around you, your stakeholders, to form perceptions. Yeah. Do they get clarity in performing their roles remotely, or the support that they need to remove performance barrier to succeed? So the connectivity with the manager is so key because it impacts the morale of the employees, the engagement, the performance, as well as the job satisfaction. Last but not least is the connectivity with others. As we know, people are social beings. No man is an island. So we need to connect with others to feel supported. So leveraging on each other to achieve greater results together. So truly a lack of social community is also impacting on employees' mental health and well-being. So these are some of the things that goes into performance.
Yes, there's so much inside there, in your last 5 minutes that you shared. There's so many nuggets inside there. But I'm just going to ask you throw you the next quick curveball, right? And what were the key challenges that your organization actually faced, and how did it overcome these challenges, right? Because DHL is a big brand, it needs to stay competitive, so how did it actually then overcome some of the challenges? Would you like to share some of those experiences, or is it